Hello everybody and welcome to this round number 8 of the 2013 GamePod Virtual V8 Supercar Series here at TouringProSeries.com. We are here for another endurance race and it is the Sandown event. We're here at Sandown Raceway and we're here for a 200-kilometer event and all the guys will be running on sprint tyres. We're getting closer to the end of the championship and the centrepiece event, the Bathurst 500. It's going to be an absolutely amazing event. But before that, we have this race here at Sandown and then the race at Sydney Olympic Park. Let's give you a quick introduction to the commentary team. My name is Scott Woodwiss. I'm filling in for Ryan Callan tonight because he's having one or two difficulties with an air show that's going on in the area. So rather than have players going on in the background, he's asked me to step in. So I have very kindly obliged. And alongside me is the perennial co-commentator for Virtual V8 Supercars, an all-round good guy, Mr. Danny Asbury. Hello, Danny.
Hey Scott, good to be here. Last round at Oran Park was absolutely fantastic. I would say probably the best round, the most pivotal round of the championship we've seen so far. And with that, to stage up this race here today for Sandown, it's going to be very, very interesting. So I mean, I'm very much looking forward to this one. Going from Oran, and like you said, we only have a few more rounds before we get to Bathurst. So now it's time to really step it up to that next level, Scott.
Most definitely. And if you guys watch back in Oran Park, it was an absolutely fantastic battle between the two championship contenders, Jeffrey Rietveld of Precision Motorsports and Jesper Tolborg of THR Orange. And the man that came out on top in both races back at Oran Park was in fact Tolborg. It was kind of a weekend to forget for Rietveld. Race 1, he had an incident with Tolborg midway through, and although he took the victory on the road, he was actually denied the victory and he was stripped of it and demoted to second place after the race, which meant that Tolborg took race 1, and Tolborg then took race 2 after an incident, a huge accident at turn 1 for Rietveld. So it was kind of a weekend that Rietveld wanted to forget, and he went from leading the championship by about, it was 11 or so points. He then went all the way down to, he's now 27 points or so behind Tolborg, who leads the championship. In fact, let's put the championship standings up now so you can see exactly how they sit coming into round number 8. We'll take a look at the spotters guide, which there we go, bring up on the screen. There we are. So, current championship standings coming into round number 8 are as follows. And as we said, it is Jesper Tolborg leading the way on 449 points from Jeffrey Rietveld on 422. He's going to be on his own for this race. No Simon Kielov in support, so Precision Motorsports will have one single car tonight. Although, just quickly, so far, Rietveld hasn't turned up in the server, and he's got about another 4 minutes to go until we get to the qualifying session. So yeah, I was actually make an appearance. Sorry.
Yeah, I was noticing that, Scott. So far we haven't seen Rietveld. We covered this a little bit at Oran Park, that him and his teammate Simon Kielov were having some trouble. Where Kielov was even talking about going after Jeffrey on track and perhaps causing some type of incident, which was absolutely ridiculous. So now we don't see a Simon for this race, but we're looking for Rietveld, and so far we've got about 5 minutes before we get into quali here, and so far no Jeffrey Rietveld. It's going to be very interesting to see how this develops. Like you're saying, Scott, it's only about 27 points in it between Tolborg and Rietveld. Now is the time not to really mess around like this. So hopefully we're going to get these guys both out on the track together.
Well, let's certainly hope so. He hasn't set any times on the servers during practice between Oran Park and now, but of course Precision Motorsports always like to do their practice in private. They always like to do it rather than on the public servers. They like to do it on their own servers, keep it to themselves, and obviously then only really show their true pace once they get to the race weekend, and it's usually then that we get to see that they're usually incredibly quick and blitzing the field completely. Looking to the rest of the table then, going down from the top two, of course, with Tolborg and Rietveld breaking away, the remainder of the spots are now taken in third place with Kevin Brents. Eric Strana, he's a man really on form. We're going to talk about him in a second because he's actually setting a really blistering pace so far in practice. Sits fourth in the standings. Rasmus Salo is fifth for THR Green. Adrian Holm is sixth with 277 points. Then Simon Kielov of course, we said he's not taking part this weekend, which means he's in 7th place. It gives an ideal opportunity for the likes of drivers such as Darren Adams in 8th, Heinz Petzold in 9th, and David Junt in 10th, and also crucially Toby Davis. He comes back after a 3-race absence, and he's looking incredibly strong as always once more. He sits 11th in the standings, with 240 points, 4 points behind David Junt on 244. So watch out for Toby as well. He'll be a very key driver. And speaking of Toby and THR, with Rietveld not showing up so far and Keelov also not showing up at all this weekend, this is the perfect opportunity for THR to really get a firm grip on the team's championship. THR Orange are currently top with 689 points, and currently they hold a slim 6-point lead on Precision with 683. Then THR Red sit third with 550. Core Racing Prime have 519. 550, sorry, for Joe Red, not 450. Ice Cold Racing Swedes are 5th with 474. DPG Motorsports are 6th with 381. Then THR Blue with 333. No Limit Motorsports with 248. You can count Optimum Sim Racing Blue on 9th with 230 points, and 360 Racing, mainly with Florian Strauss at the wheel of that one, who I don't believe is racing this weekend either. Haven't seen him at all around the servers.
Yeah.
He is 10th with 222.
Yeah, we're without Strauss for this race today, which is unfortunate. But with that, let's actually take you down to the pre-practice. As times are just now finishing up, about a minute and a half to go before we head into quality. You're seeing here Eric Strauss so far tops the boards, which is very surprising. He's never been the fastest guy going into a quality session here. He's ran the fastest time all week with that 106.9. No one else has been able to get into that 106s, I don't believe, Scott. So this guy right now you're watching, Eric Strauss, is your favorite for pole position. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to hold off, some of the challenges like Toby Davis, who is right behind him here with a 107 flat and is now a little quicker than Strauss. So he's got to hold off this guy. Obviously, like you said, Scott, Toby's returning after his 3-race absence. Looks very sharp, despite not being with us for nearly maybe 2 months, I want to say now. So we have Adrian Holm looking very strong as well there in 3rd. So obviously Strong's going to have to contend with him as well. Jasper Talbert, our championship leader, in 4th position. He's not. He's only about a tenth and a half off of Strong's time there, and you're seeing the times here. The first 4 guys are just, there's not even 2/10. There's barely 2/10 in it, Scott. So again, we're looking for a very, very interesting quality session. So I'm going. Oh, and look at that, Toby Davis actually jumps to the top of the board with a 106.8. So now Strong, we were just saying he's never led one of these pre-practice sessions going into quality, and unfortunately that record's going to stay the same here as Toby Davis now becomes the favorite going to quality. So Scott, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Who's your pick to come out with this pole position?
This is a tough one because, of course, Strauss is the man in form at the moment. He won both races at the Tom Onslow Cole Clear Series event at Silverstone National Circuit. Toby Davis, of course, is he's fighting for the championship on that one as well. But of course, he's had some recent success, as we've mentioned before on broadcasts. He did win the MSA Supercar Grand Prix at Snetterton, so he's in decent form. He's probably in good spirits. Toby's definitely managed to find a trick with the setup. So Toby's looking good. I think it's really close between Toby and Strong because, of course, they're the two who've only managed the 1-minute 6s all practice and all qualifying. So going into the 15-minute session as cars start to make their way out. But this is a tough one. I think I'm going to stick my neck out. I think as he's in form at the moment, even though Davis was quicker, I'm going to go Strana. What about you, Danny?
Like you said, Scott, it's going to be a really tough one to call. Yeah, we could go. I could even go Adrian Holm. I believe he took a pole position there. Was it Barbagallo? Did he take one? But Adrian Holm, he can be very quick. The thing is, though, Toby Davis at 106.8. That's really difficult to beat, even for Strong. And the thing about Toby here, he's a guy who can hit the time he sets like that. And what I mean by that, you get into quality sessions, that the nerves get the best of you, and a lot of times it's natural for some of these drivers to lose maybe a tenth or two. Toby Davis isn't really like that. He can go out and hit the fastest time he can get when it really matters. That's why this guy has so many pole positions within the TPS. So when I see him get a 106.8 like that, Scott, I have to. My money then goes on Toby Davis to now take this pole position as he starts but he actually starts his lap right now. Will stay on board with Toby here, as I believe that's one of the DPG Motorsport cars behind him. But besides that, he's got completely open track in front of him. He's timed out this lap pretty well because, like I say, no traffic here, as we'll see what he can come up with. Remember, Scott, he ran that 106.8 was his final lap there in pre-practice. So, I mean, he's very sharp. You know, he doesn't have to really dig down to find anything. He just got to repeat what he just did. So I think that's a very good psychological advantage he's got going into this quality session. So what do you think, Scott? You think he's going to be able to get a good time here on his first go?
Well, of course, the track is still rubbered in, and he's heading through turn 6, a very, very quick corner. That's a very dangerous one. We can talk about a little bit more on that one at length. But looking at his time so far, he's heading up towards the end of the lap, and a little bit rough on the exit there of turn number. I'm going to work it out now. It's turn 9 that was. With the kink of 10, and after 11, and then 12, and then a small little kink again onto the last corner of 13. And he could possibly do it. He's first for decent for this first lap. How many mistakes he made, and he pumps in a 1 minute 7.092. So that matches the best time he set before he put in the 1 minute 6.8. So a 7.0 was what he was on before he put in that final lap. So could be a key one as Talbot goes second. So currently, visually, it is an all THR orange front row, but of course that's not going to stay, as Kevin Brents is going quicker in the first sector, 800ths up at the moment. So he is now really setting it alight. So as he heads onto the back straight, Lars Brugman has popped in to 9th place and then gets immediately duped by Rosemeyer, and Brents is going quicker still. And this time it'll be a 1 minute 7 point. It will be a 1 minute 7.0, but it's going to be just up. And he's in the THR red machine. Of course, he's alongside Chris Butcher for this event.
Yeah, and Brent, the fastest time he's ran through the week of testing is a 107.3. So very unusual to see him as the fastest time through that second sector. We'll see what he comes away with right here. But this final sector's been hurting him. But wow, there he is, a 107.1, the fastest time from him all week for Kevin Brent. He's going to be very happy with that time. With another 12 minutes to play with here, you've got to think Kevin's going to be able to get a little bit more pace out that THR red machine. Because usually, obviously, these first laps guys maybe just... Well, Toby Davis, a 106.7. The fastest time we've seen through the 2 weeks of testing. That is an absolutely absurd time there for the THR orange driver. So he gets a little sideways there and he spins it. But at this point, he's got to think, you know, this pole position is mine.
Well, he's not in the championship hunt, but he's certainly trying to help THR Orange consolidate their lead in the point standings in the team's championships. That's definitely going to help if he can put it on pole position. Haven't seen a time just yet from Eric Strada. I think he's out on track just now. I just saw him sweep through shot there. The red ice-cold machine with the Swedish flag on the top. Talborg is a quarter of a second down as that's Robert Blicker sideways through turn 6. And Strada is just about to start his first hot lap of the session. We've already had just coming up to just over 4 minutes gone in this session. So we've got just under 5 minutes. Sorry.
Strada's time so far was a 107.6, and that puts him 8th as Chris Butcher just bumps him. But yeah, Strada's about 8 tenths off of what he can probably do optimally. So so far, not. I mean, I think pretty much he's just taking it easy so far, Scott. Just trying to get a good lap on the board. But he's really got to turn it up now with Toby Davis ratcheting up the pace of 106.7. I mean, going into this session, I mean, Strada's got to be thinking that, okay, maybe I'm a 10th off of pole time. I can push for that. Now being 2 tenths down on that time that Toby Davis just set, that's not going to be good for Strada. He might be pushing just a little too much. Maybe that's why he's only been able to manage that 107.6 at this point. But we'll see what he can come away with. About 4 tenths down through that middle sector, I believe that was. So Strada, he's got to find a way to get his nerves under him and and get a good lap in, because so far he is very much slower than what he was through the final practice. There we'll see how he does as he comes across the stripe there, as he gets on the start-finish straight. Eric Strong, was he looking at? He improves. He actually improves that to a 107.2. That's good enough for 5th position. So still not what Strong's looking for, but certainly that's much better than being there 8th on the grid. So he's definitely got some work to do. The thing is, Scott, we're not seeing Jeffrey Rietveld on the server at this point. So this is not good for the championship. I mean, what's going on in your mind with Precision Cam?
I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I know that Precision have also got the Tom Onslow Cold Clear series to look after. Of course, Jack Keithley, who is due to be partnering Jeffrey Rietveld at the Bathurst 500, the final round of the season. And they've got that to deal with. And of course, Jack is leading in the championship there to win the prize of a test in a real VW Cup car. And we'll give you some more information on the final round, so on the second to last round during the break between qualifying and warm-up. And I'm not sure. I think that maybe there could be a little bit of friction possible. I think Kilo, is maybe getting a little frustrated because he was an early championship contender in Tox, and then he dropped out and had some poor results. And now he's not in the championship hunt for the Virtual V8 Supercars either. It might just be demoralising him a little bit, and that might having a bit of a knock-on effect on the rest of the team. As quickly, Stranis has gone to 3rd now, so he has improved on his time to 1 minute 7.2. We're getting a face for the dust of, I think that's Mate Orban's, not going to help too much. And also there was a car on the exit, and yeah, he's lost more time on that first sector, 3/10 down already on Davis's 1 minute 6.7 as Obel pumps in a 1 minute 6 for the first time, 1 minute 6.991. So it's an all THR orange front row as he gets halfway through this first session.
An interesting point that some of our viewers are pointing out here is that obviously, Jeffrey Rietveld has been pretty much leading the championship the entire way through. Now, of course, at Warren Park, Jasper Tallberg finally jumps Jeffrey, okay, takes the outright lead of the championship by 27.2. So that means Rietveld had some work to do. So you look at that, and maybe now it's coincidental that maybe the next round he doesn't show up, okay? When he's finally in the hole, he finally has to really kind of work from that number 2 position, so to speak. So maybe that just shows a little bit of Jeffrey's character. Who knows, Scott? Because he's leading the entire championship. Finally, he gets moved. He gets relegated to 2nd place by this guy we're watching right here, Jasper Tallberg, and now we don't see Rietveld. So that certainly doesn't look good. Maybe Rietveld is kind of a front runner, you have to say, because right now, when he's got that championship fight taken to him, we don't see the guy. So it certainly doesn't reflect good on him or Precision Motorsports, because obviously now, without Kilov, and with Kilov going through whatever issues he's going through, now we don't have Jeffrey Rietveld, who seemingly he's not up for the fight that Tallberg has pretty much posed to him with his round at Owen Park. So it certainly doesn't look good from the outside, Scott.
Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, if Rietveld's not even able to make qualifying, he may even pop in the warm-up. He might elect to start from the back of the grid. And obviously, knowing how quick Rietveld is, of course, he's raced in series such as FSR, and of course, he's done pretty well. As Strana has gone purple, just quickly we'll mention that as we keep with him. Is he still up? No, he's lost more time, so he's now down by just almost a 10th. But at this rate, he will get himself onto the front row, and that's very ragged through that turn 7 and 8 chicane. Towards turns 9 and the kink of 10. But Rietveld, if he does turn up in warm-up at some points, that's if, not when, and he does start from the back of the grid, that's going to be a real story of the race to see exactly how far he can get through the 63 laps we've got for this race. As Strana heads across the line and goes to 3rd on a minute 7.055. So he's getting closer, but he just needs to find a bit more time to get himself back into the 1 minute 6s, and if he can leapfrog Talborg, that's going to be crucial, because Talborg, ideally, he'll want to be on the front row, because this is going to be crucial for his championship chances. His perfect result today would be a race victory. If he can do that, he will extend his points lead on Rietveld. If he doesn't show up, he'll extend it by a further 50 points, which means he will carry into the penultimate round at Sydney Olympic Park with a massive 77-point lead in the championship. And the races at Sydney Olympic Park, if I look at the calendar, that's also an endurance race as well. It's a 150-kilometre race, 44 laps there. So there's no 2 races about it, which means that'll be everything. Rietveld if Rietveld doesn't show up in warm-up, no ifs or buts about it, he has to get a good result. He'll have to win. He has to win and hope that Talborg doesn't have a good result or has some problems of some sort to allow him to stand any kind of chance of keeping himself in the championship fight going towards the season finale at Bathurst. So this is worrying for his position and also for Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, I do not think we'll see rFactor just show up for warm-up like that. I don't see really the logic behind it, really, because I mean, if you're good enough to, if you're there, if you're ready to do a race, why would you simply skip out on quality like this, especially when you're in a title fight? It's one thing, I know Woodwiss has done this a few times in FSR, where he'll start from the back pretty much just for the fun of it, okay, because he's had the championship wrapped up. That's not the case here with rFactor. Okay, rFactor's got to go and work for this thing. He's got to beat this man right here, Jasper Tallberg. You don't start from the back of the grid when you're in a championship fight. Pretty much, I don't think us not seeing rFactor here in quality like this pretty much is his resignation from the championship, I want to call it. I mean, because we haven't really heard from the guy. There's no absence report or anything for that matter. So it's certainly not looking good. I mean, if I'm Jasper Tallberg, you don't so much need to win this race. You just need to stay by Toby Davis, Kevin Brents, you have Rasmus Dahl, you have Chris Butcher. You just need to be insulated by your THR teammates. You don't really want to fight with anybody. All you need to do is come out of here with a solid bag of points, anything within the top 5. The top 10 is good, and then you've pretty much got you're in the driver's seat to win this championship. So I don't really think Tallberg's going to be trying too much shenanigans. I think he's just going to try to insulate himself and just stay out of trouble. And he's actually in a good position to do that because THR is, I was actually looking at their TeamSpeak channel. They've got absolutely everybody, all hands on deck for this race. Chris Butcher's here. Obviously, Toby Davis is back. They've got drivers like Rasmus Dahl. Kevin Brent is third in the championship standings. And actually, there's Adrian Holm going second overall with a 106.8, a very good time by Mr. Holm.
I was going to point out whilst you were talking that he was up. He was purple in sectors 1 and 2, so he's lost quite a lot of time, possibly due to some traffic in that final sector. But he was looking incredibly quick. So if he can do a repeat of that, Adrian Holm, then he will definitely be the cat amongst the pigeons for the top drivers as well. And Strana will probably look at that and think, come on, if Adrian can do it, why can't I? So he can. But Strana's coming towards the line now, and he's still 4th, so he's still going to find some more time. Actually, what was interesting, I was talking to Eric before the race, and he and Adrian were talking about doing something similar to what they did last year at the Asbury in 2012, where they started qualified near the back of the grid on purpose and came through to try and get a good result, because they were that confident of their pace across the whole weekend here at Sandown that they were thinking, you know what, maybe we could make a repeat of that. But it was a choice to either do that or try and start first or second and try and run away with it. And to then starting first or second and choosing the latter option seemed a bit more tempting. So, and I can't really blame them, because with a circuit like this, it is really a power circuit and slipstreaming galore on this circuit. You've got long straights, these very kind of 90-degree corners, and I'm not sure, maybe you'll agree with me on this one, Danny. This circuit here at Sandown, it has the characteristics and the layout like you would probably expect somewhere. If you look at the track map from above, it looks like it could easily be a street circuit, looking at the long straights, the 90-degree type corners, the kinks in there as well, the hard braking zones. But of course, the difference between a street circuit and this place is that you've got 90 million miles of runoff area and grass and tarmac. So, and of course, it's also situated around the outside of a horse racing course as well. So you've got horses for courses in some cases.
Yeah, you know, you look at the track map. Yeah, it's not many sweeping corners. Ain't nothing too high speed going on here at Sandown. But I mean, yeah, it looks kind of straightforward, kind of like some street circuits do look like. But you know, obviously, yeah, you've got the runoff. Not as much risk going on here, obviously. But you know, drivers have talked about this track, and they've absolutely loved it. You know, so it's kind of a highbrow, I guess, so to speak. Not too difficult, but you know, just very enjoyable for the drivers. They can really push the car around a place like this. So I was actually just rotating through the standings a little bit. You're seeing guys like Lee Palmer up to 10th position, so he's going to be thrilled with that. Lee, he's made his name, and we're actually Adrian Holm just did pop to the front very quickly here. It's going quicker in Sector 1 there, so you'll see what's... Yeah, we'll see if he can actually take this pole. He's actually got half a tenth down on Toby Davis's time, and he's quicker there through the second sector. We'll see if Adrian Holm can come away with his second pole position of the season. We'll see how he gets through this final sector here. He gets a little sideways, coming out there, really trying to get on that power as early as possible. Adrian Holm, remember the lazy man racing driver, used to be Ice Cold Racing. The Ice Cold Racing is where he got his pole position earlier in the season. We'll see if he can get another one here at Sandown as he crosses the stripe. No, wow, he loses
No.
a ton of time to the final sector there. That's going to close out our quali session here as no more time is on the board here. I don't think any other driver is on the track with a legitimate chance to pass Toby Davis up for third position. Here's Jasper Tauber, but obviously he's a few tenths down on up on Davis's time. And Toby Davis, he set that time, Scott, and did not even touch his steering wheel out there. He put it in the garage and he was just watching. He realized how special of a time that was the moment he said it. And like a guy who's like a true experienced driver, he's just resting himself and got himself ready for the race. He realized he couldn't do anything better than that 106.7 and just put himself, got himself in that race prep already, as Toby Davis is going to be our 2013, Sandown pole sitter, and comes back to the series in style, which, it prompts the question, hey, what happens if Toby Davis didn't go on that hiatus of 3 races? He was in a very good position within the championships. I believe he was third when he unfortunately had to leave the series, so to speak, for his supercar, his karting endeavor, so to speak. So Toby Davis, he comes back in style, takes pole position, and I'll just run you through the grid here as we get about 5 minutes on the board before in warm-up session here. So Toby Davis, the THR co-boss, gets pole position with his staggering 106.7. Adrian Holm on second, locks out the front row with a 106.8. We have Jasper Tallberg there with a 106.9. A lot of drivers, 3 drivers get into that 106 range, none of which was Eric Strawn. Eric Strawn was the fastest driver going in to the final few minutes of the practice session there, and unfortunately comes away with 4th position. Not going to be too thrilled about that, considering he had a pole position prospect staring him right in the face, but he's in 4th. Kevin Brents has had the quietest championship we've seen all season. He sits 3rd in the championship standings, and again takes another top 5 grid spot here with a 107.1. And we didn't talk about Kevin too much, but well done to him. Rasmus Salo for THR with a 107.2. Robert Godica returns to the series. I believe Robert, he was not at Oran Park. I'm not sure if he was at Canada either, but he returns for No Limit, gets 7th on the grid. Tommy Ohala, I believe his 3rd race with THR now with a 107.3. So Tommy, he's developing well at THR. We have Lars Brugman on 9th. Lars continues his good form from last week. He was really good at Oran Park, continues that here at Sandown. Lee Palmer, best qualifying position of the season, gets a top 10 spot. He's going to be very happy with that. And Scott, you want to take us through the rest of it?
I can indeed, yeah. Did you get down to 12th? Was it David Jones?
We're down to 11th, yeah, with Chris Butcher.
11th, right? Okay. So the grid then: Chris Butcher in 11th with David Jones alongside some THR Red and THR Blue on row 6. Row 7 is Jonathan Osserklinth and Mate Orban for Optimum Ford and DPG Holden. Kevin Enderman for Team Down Under, and Ryan Walker, who's I thought was looking pretty good in the practice session, especially. So there's some really good times across the boards in the practice. I think his best time, I think, across the whole practice was a 1:07.4. So that's 0.3 off the what he would like to have done. Bruno Salsa Ferreira is 17th ahead of Heinz Petzold in 18th. Ivan Navarro is sat in 19th place with Darren Adams, 20th for Core Ford. If we scroll down to the rest of the field, there we go. 21st, Sebastian Rosemeyer and Rob Taplin in the independent Ford on row 11. Row 12, Ethan Bass for SimSpeed, Andy Johns for 151 Motorsport. Row 14, Boyd Bryson for Core and Daniel Beck for Optimum. And starting at the back of the grid, the 27-car field, it's Jeff Dobbing for Flying Tigers Ford. That's your grid. What we'll do very quickly, with a minute and a half left to go, we'll quickly run our sponsor videos, and then we'll get set for round 8 here at Sandown. Back in 2.
InsideSimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
GamePod, the ultimate race rig for those serious about sim racing. Puts you in the driver's seat with all the controls at your fingertips. Be number one on the road, in the race, in the game. GamePod, the choice of champions.
And welcome back to round 8 of the Virtual V8 Supercar Championship. We are here at Sandown Park for our 200km race, 63 laps awaits. We've just finished warm-up, so we're now going to head across to the race start. And of course we've got a fantastic grid. It is going to be Toby Davis and Adrian Holm on the front row of the grid, with Eric Strana and championship leader and contender Jesper Tolborg sat on row 2. Still no sight of Jeffrey Rietveld, so it looks like he's not going to be taking part. I haven't seen him jump into the server at all during the 5-minute warm-up. He's not present at all from the names I can see, which means that we have a race without a Precision Motorsports car in it, and I think that's one for their stories. If someone can find it in the chat, the last race that we didn't have either a Precision Motorsports driver or team racing a TPS event, if they can find that out the last time in the chat, post it down there. You can have an imaginary cookie. Anyway, moving across the grid, there's actually 64 laps, not 63, so we're going to go across for our warm-up lap then. And Toby Davis, of course, will try and the most of this one. A few drivers I wanted to talk about. Lars Brugman sat in 9th place for Optimum Ford. Lars is looking pretty good. He's looking pretty quick. He races all sorts, actually. He's been over racing GPWC. He's also been over at the race department, the Virtual Le Mans 24 Hours. Funny story, actually, over there. I was helping cover that, and we had a bit of a server crash in after the first 10 minutes. Restarted, and then 10 minutes in, Lars Brugman accidentally shifted down at high speed and blew the engine on his LMP2 Porsche Sky High. And but thankfully they managed to get the car back out, because how the rules work is that you have to take a 10-minute penalty for every time you retire or disconnect. So managed to get it through, and with the help of him and Matt Richards and a couple of the other drivers, I can't remember exactly who they were, apologies for that one, but that's the case. Also, I wanted to talk about 13th place. His teammate Jonathan Osselklint is actually racing with sunburn today, and he's told me it's very, very painful. It's probably some of the worst sunburn he's ever had, so if he starts struggling midway through the race, that's probably the reason why, because he is, look at that. I'd imagine, sorry Jonathan, but I imagine his skin's probably as red as the red on his Optima Sim Racing car, I would have thought. As it joke over. And Osselklint starts 13th.
13th, I thought you said 30th, I'm sorry, Scott.
13th, that's okay. Cars to look out for. THR are really strong today. They've got 8 cars in the top 12. Toby's first, Davis is first, Tolborg is third, Brents is fifth, Rasmus Sala for THR Green 6th, Tommy O'Yala is 8th, and we've got Chris Butcher 11th and David Junt 12th. So those guys really, as a collective, work together and big dark horses. But of course we've got the likes of Adrian Holm and Eric Strana in there as well. Robert Godica as well, always surprises and does well in his Opel branded machine, and he'll start 7th then. As they start to form onto the grid. Sim racing grids always seem to form up much quicker. It's because you can get them onto the pack and they all form up in the grid like a rolling start. So as they punch themselves onto the grid slots, you'll be seeing at the front there Adrian Holm on the left and Toby Davis on the right in pole position. He's front splitted just in front a little bit more just to get that edge off the line. Adrian Holm just sorting out his steering then. And the last few cars will be coming on stage, and we're getting ready then for the 64 laps here of round 8 of the Virtual V8 Supercars here at Sandown Raceway. It's Davis and Holm on the front row, Tolborg and Strana on row 2, then Brents and Sala, Godica and Ahala, Brugman and Lee Palmer. That's your top 10. And there are going to be some dark horses coming through from the back of the field. All set. Lights are up then. Revs are rising. Who's going to take the victory here after the 200 kilometres to Sandown? Let's find out. Lights out and away we go. Equal start for the first 2 rows. And Adrian Holm's got a brilliant start.
Wow.
From Toby Davis down towards turn 1. And he takes the lead with Davis slotting second. We've got Tolborg up the inside of Strana. Strana gets sideways on the exit of turn 1. And there's a couple of cars off in the background already. I saw some dust flying around. Couldn't see exactly who it was.
Godica was one of them.
Godica's gone around.
Yes.
A few more cars have gone off onto the... I did see there was a Optimum car in the back end. Was it Lars Brugman, I wonder? Because a few cars there. Lars has got away. He's down in 15th place. So as they head onto the back straight for the first time. Let's see who has dropped down. Has dropped back down the field. Oscar Clint has dropped down to 26th. So that was him involved in that accident. A few other cars. Jeff Dobbins at the back of the field. But up towards turns 7, 8 and 9 for the first time, and it's Adrian Holm who leads it then from the 2 THR orange cars of Toby Davis and Jesper Tolborg second and third. Strana holding 4th for Ice Cold. Then it's THR green cars of Salo and Ayala. Then Brenton 7th, Lee Palmer's 8th, and then Chris Butcher is holding on to David Johnstown at 9th, ahead of Chris Butcher rounding out the top 10, and Matej Orban just holding on to their coattails in 10th place. Cross the start and finish line for the first time, and Holm has it. What a start from the Swede there. That's made up for not getting pole position.
Yeah, this is absolutely tremendous start from Adrian Holm. Got about a half a second gap on Toby Davis already. Was tremendous right out of his grid spot. And I can't believe that he just blew past Toby. Toby's been known to have some of the best starts we've seen all season, but Adrian Holm completely outclassed Toby Davis right now. Now Toby Davis and THR with Jesper Tolborg right behind Toby. They have a lot of work to do to catch Adrian Holm, who seems to have been shot off a cannon here. Almost has a second lead on Toby Davis about a lap and a half through. Very impressive by the Lazy Man Racing driver.
I just saw there was a bit of shenanigans going on between Brent and Ayala into turn 1. And Ayala very ragged over the curves in turns 2 and 3, but he's carrying on and he's doing pretty well. Still got 27 cars running, so we haven't lost anyone just yet, which is a relief. But Holm has an advantage now, almost a second. It's 8.5 tenths heading into the final chicane and up towards the kink of turn 13. Davis a little bit sideways on the exit of 12, but he's pulling away a gap now. He's also got himself a gap of 8.5 tenths, and Holm is absolutely streaking away. It's a 1.1 second advantage as they start lap 3, and Strana is holding on to Tolborg here down towards turn 1, so he's keeping him in his sights. Oh, and there's a bit of lag on my screen there as Tolborg just went across to the outside of the track on my screen. Strana using all the exit curve as well, chasing him 4th. Looking back, Salo is also keeping track in 5th. Ayala is now leading a train of cars, and that's got behind him Brent, Palmer and Butcher's in there as well in some case, and also Matej Orban, I think. Where is Matej Orban? 11th place. Is he in that train too? Yes, he is. And Kevin Enderman. Then Ryan Walker's bringing Lars Brugman with him, so Brugman was already up to 14th after his misdemeanors on the first couple of laps. And the gap, Adrian Holm really is setting the pace already. He's brought the gap up in the first 2 sectors already by a further 3 tenths. So Davis is going to have to do something about this pretty quickly, because if not, all he's going to see is that Lazy Man racing car not being so lazy and being very proactive, as it seems, because he's absolutely flying away at the front. And this could be worrying THR here, especially Tolborg, because he needs all the points he can get, especially with Rietveld not racing today.
Yeah, right now, yes, we're talking. But the thing is, Scott, I think Tolborg's in an okay position. He's right now on podium position. He's got Eric Strahm behind him. Eric, remember, he's quick, but I think Tolborg's going to be better on a full race stint. I don't think he's got too much to worry about with Eric Strahm there in behind him. And then you're seeing Rasmus Salo there in 5th. So again, he's done what I think he's needed to do in being insulated by his THR teammates. He's got Toby Davis in front of him to lead these guys to get away any type of traffic or whatever. I mean. And then he's got, obviously, Strahm directly behind him, but Sal's not too far behind. But Tommy O'Hollick, Kevin Brent, all 3 THR guys. So Jesper Tolborg can pretty much go status quo here. I mean, if it gets to the point where Strahm is going to be able to challenge Tolborg for this 3rd position, Tolborg could even give that up and still have nothing but THR behind him for the remainder of this race. So at that point, that's what he really needs. He just needs to come out of here, Scott, I believe, with the top 5, and I think that's he gets what he wants. But, I mean, you're looking at Adrian Holm absolutely laid down the gauntlet, Rietveld style here to begin this race. Only Rietveld's been able to open up these monster gaps really to start off these races, and so far Adrian Holm is taking the cue off the former Precision Motorsports driver, or the Precision Motorsports driver in Jeffrey Rietveld. Has now got a 2.5 gap on Toby Davis, only 5 laps into this thing. So I don't know what's got into Adrian Holm, but he is seemingly straight on his P's and Q's here. The thing is, though, Adrian Holm has never been that great on it with his tire conservation. Will that be a factor, Scott, as this race wears on? Can he continue to keep this type of pace up? Because otherwise, Toby Davis is going to get to him.
Well, the gap is now 1.7, so Davis managed to just wake up a little bit and managed to keep him within his sights too much. He's maintained the gap now at 1.7 through sector 2, so Davis just seems to be matching Holm's pace at the moment. Maybe he was struggling to get those tyres a bit more up to temperature, which may be a factor of setup and just how it will shake out at the start. We've lost, just a quick note, we've lost 2 cars, and one of them, unfortunately, is Lars Brugman. We've lost him out of the race. The other one being Carlos Ortiz. That's a shame for Bruggen, because we expected some good things from him. He was back down in 14th or 15th. I think he got caught up in one or two of the incidents at the start, and maybe that's caused a bit of damage, which seems to be unfixable. So he's out of the race. Last time we saw him, he was 14th, 15th, as Holm lags a little bit on my screen. I thought he was going straight on at turn 1, but he's not. And the gap is now 2.1 seconds.
Wow.
So Holm has found somehow 0.4 of a second in that final sector. That's absolutely incredible. So Holm really wants to dominate the pace so far. He's found another 10th in the first sector alone. Tyre wear factor, we're looking possibly at 2 stops for everyone today. I'm guessing it'll be similar to what we saw in Adelaide, because it's a similar race distance, 64 laps today. So I would expect drivers to probably split that out, give or take a couple of laps either way, in stints of roughly about 21 laps, depending on how these guys work them. If they're careful on their tyres, then probably they might be able to extend a couple more laps to say lap 23, 24 if they're lucky. But if they can do that whilst keeping a decent pace, that will put them in good stead for the remainder of the race. Let's quickly look at... Go on.
I'll tell you this, guy. These guys right here we're watching on camera, they're going to have an awful hard time keeping any type of rubber on those tires for a long period of time, because this is a tremendous battle pack. We have Tommy O'Hara in 6th position leading, Kevin Brents, Chris Butcher, Lee Palmer, David Yunt, Matt and Matthew Orban. This is absolutely a tremendous fight here as these guys have continued to stay with one another. I know Chris Butcher, the car we're watching right now, just got around Lee Palmer a few laps ago. Seems to be one of the quicker drivers in this battle pack, as he's now right up to his teammate Kevin Brents. Really wants that position, but he's not going to be too forceful about this. Meanwhile, Kevin Brents is going to try to take a look on Tommy O'Hara, but now Chris Butcher is going to leave the door open for Chris now to take his position off. Oh, well, those guys getting a little contact, a little sideways there. They definitely don't want to do that, Scott, because obviously Kevin Brents has a 3rd place in the overall standings to look after here as he gets shuffled down to 9th position. So this seems to be where the fighting on track is occurring from this 6th to 11th position, Scott. I mean, which way? These guys definitely have to watch each other. Otherwise, it's going to end in tears. We already saw Lars Brugman DNF from this race, but he ran into some trouble. So hopefully these guys can stay clear here, Scott.
One place you really want to be careful of overtaking is turn 6. That's the corner I really want to talk about. Turn 6 is really the only high speed on this circuit. Butcher cuts the curve at turn 12. He really is pushing on to try and catch his sister teammate Tommy O'Hara. But turn 6, a very fast left-hander, and you are pushing towards it, so you are trail braking. And then you've got the approach down towards turn 9, and you've got this sort of little S-bend of 7 and 8, and you're almost having to brake and just hop over these huge curves to try and maintain whatever advantage you might have. And trying to overtake in there, it's so narrow that you got... Oh, as Butcher's gone around! Butcher goes around at turn 4! Butcher's... Was he helped? Did he jump or was he pushed? Let's have a look at a replay of that one then, because I'm not sure. He may have just outbraked himself. If we can get a replay of that one on the screen, Danny, I'll have a look at it myself as well.
Yeah, the replays, I can't get it to work here, but it definitely looked like there might have been a little bit. I think you were right, Scott. He jumped over the curb, got that car a little bit off kilter a little bit, and then just maybe a little tap sent him around. And now look, he's got damage to that car as he's all over. He's off the track again into the Game Pod logo. Game Pod are not going to appreciate that, but Chris Butcher gets it back on the circuit. It seems to be some damage on that thing, Scott.
Well, it looks to me that he just lost it himself. He got a rear wheel over the exit curve of turn 3, and under brakes in turn 4, it just caught the rear around. So he's rejoined back in 14, but now he's keen to try and make up for his mistakes, because he's now right on the back of Ethan Bass as they head down towards the first corner once again. He's got a great toe down towards turn 1. If we're looking at it down towards up the inside, and Chris Butcher should make light work of that. Bass turns across and doesn't realise that Butcher's there. And Butcher then is up into 13th place now. Next target up the road is going to be Kevin Enderman on the Team Down Under machine, and he'll actually be back onto the tail of that group. And hopefully he can do that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, you're seeing here Robert Godica. He recovers from that off earlier in the race. Remember, lap 1, he was off. I think he was a little contact maybe even with Lars Brugman that sent him back. But Godica continues on up to 15th position. I'm getting a report from Lars Brugman that he simply had a technical failure in his car. He had to retire that machine. I believe some type of graphical glitch or something of that nature. So unfortunately, not contact that saw the end of Lars' race. Just really unfortunate for him. Ethan Bass, it needs to be noted that he's up to 14th position. Ethan, he's been a guy just struggling to get out of last place, so he's going to be absolutely thrilled to be up this high in the grid. But he's got Lars Brugman breathing right down his neck. Let's jump up to the front here, where Adrian Holm continues to lay down the gauntlet here at the Sandown round 7 of the championship. He's got now a 2.5 second gap to Toby Davis. That gap's pretty much stayed there for the last 2 or so laps.
It's coming down.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Scott. I mean, was it higher than this?
Oh, there
it is. You're right.
It is. It was about 2.8 the last time I looked at it. It's come down by about half a second the last time we saw it. So Davis seems to have found some performance in that car. Now, either Adrian's pushed a little too hard on these tyres to try and extend that gap, but Davis is coming back at him, and that tyre conservation, or lack of, for Adrian Holm, might come back to haunt him, and it may come good for Davis. Let's see how much he's closed in then as he come across the line. Across the stripe, and it's now 2.1. So he's on a charge right now.
Yeah,
and looking back, Talborg is in 3rd, and he's got Strana still coming with him. So that's a good battle developing there. And Rasmus Salo's going with him as well. He's not too far away in 5th position. And then we've got the Ohala convoy, which is being led by himself with Palmer all over the back of him, down towards turn 1. Will he make a move? Ford versus Holden. And Palmer wasn't far enough alongside.
Lee Palmer, remember, he fell back to, I believe, the 9th in this little train, and so, or this convoy as we're calling it, now up to 7th position. And Lee Palmer, he's right all over Rasmus Salo or Tommy Ohala for this 6th position. I don't know what's gotten into Lee Palmer today, but remember, he quality 10th, now up to 7th. He's looking very strong going forward. Remember, Chris Butcher fell out of this pack only a few laps ago, so that's going to open up space for these guys to fight with one another. You know, a quick point about Adrian Holm, he's got about another 8 or so laps before we get into the pit window, so he's got to hold off Toby Davis for another 8 laps and change to go here before he gets some fresh tires. And there's a little sideways there from Tommy Ohala. I think Lee Palmer might have just cut his nose right in. Yeah, that looked like a little contact there, Scott. And meanwhile, you're seeing Kevin Brent trying to take advantage, going around the outside. I'm not sure if that's going to work, but those guys are still side by side. I think Lee Palmer's going to hold it. He holds the position very well done as those guys cross the start-finish stripe as they head down to turn 1. Kevin Brent, now, he's going to be in that slipstream, going to be able to perhaps have a look here. We'll see. He pulls his car down the inside. Can he get it in there? Don't think he's going to be able to do it, Scott. So it looks like Lee Palmer in this convoy is going to stay status quo here for this lap.
A little bit sideways on the entry for turn 2 for Lee Palmer. So he's managed to hold it, and again he's going a little too deep and over the curb, so Palmer may have been rattled a little bit by Brent. But the THR car's really getting stuck in this race. Ohana's up there, of course looking at where they are placed at the moment. Davis is now 2nd, and the gap, meanwhile we were looking at that, the gap is now stabilised at about 2.1 seconds. Talborg, of course, is 3rd, Rasmus Salo 5th, Ohana's now 6th leading this train. Brent is up in the middle of it in 8th, and he's got now, of course, David Junt for company in 9th. Ohana goes round, There was more contact, and they're going to go 3 wide down towards turn number 11. And Palmer's now going to have to defend from Ohala, and Ohala won't appreciate that. He's just clean around the outside again. So he says, you know, punch me out of the turn line. We didn't have that, and straight back in front. And all this has benefited Kevin Brent's 3rd ever championship, as you pointed out there, rightly so, Danny, which means this will be really key for his points total. He's into 6th, and now he's got a huge advantage to try and make up. He's almost 11 seconds behind Rasmus Salo, who's already exiting turn 4 onto the back straight. So Brent, after a lot of work to do, he's starting just to break away from that chasing pack. And Ohala once again leads it, but of course it's now 1 car shorter. As for Chris Butcher, what's he up to? He's gone very wide on the exit of turn 3, but he's slowly starting to reel in that pack of cars in front of him, and he's leaving Kevin Enderman behind. Robert Godeker, in the Robert Godeker in the no limit car, falling to the clutches of Boyd Bryson for Core Ford if he's not too careful. So Chris Butcher's back on the charge, and he's really wanting to try and make up some more points. Meanwhile, at the front, very quickly, gap is still 2.1 seconds. Across the line they go, and it's still 2.1. So it's pretty much staying very static indeed. No change in the gap at all.
Yeah, and just take a quick ride through the grid here. Let's go back to Robert Godeker very quickly. I think you're seeing Chris Butcher catch it up right back to this convoy of cars, but I think that car, I thought there was damage earlier. It seems like Chris Butcher is fine, good to go. I'm not so sure if the same could be said for Robert Godeker. And who's that going into the pits we just saw? I believe that was Ivan Navarro exiting the pits there in behind. I believe he's a lap down at this point, but Robert Godeker may have some damage. And who's that car off in the front? There is Matty Orban. He goes off there. Not sure what happens at DBG Motorsport machine. And now, no, who is that? Kevin Brent. Or is that Chris Butcher again? Butcher again. Wow. he's off at the same corner, Scott, that we saw only on lap 6. So Chris Butcher really having trouble through that opening complex, that sector 1.
And it looks to me, let's have a look at looking at my replay again, and he's done it again. Turns for the exit curve and just loses the back end. And this time he's nudged the tyre wall. That may cause some rear end damage, maybe to the rear wing or the rear bumper or the suspension, or maybe even the differential. But he's now down to 17th place. So Chris Butcher, that's 2 mistakes at the same corner within a number of laps. So Butcher's now up the inside of Ethan Bass again. And is he going to make the move stick? No, Bass is defending a bit more this time, but Butcher's going to try and get the switch back on the exit of turn 12. And they'll run side to side down towards turn 1 across the pit straight. And Bass had his nose in front across the line, but Butcher has the inside run towards turn 1, and Bass is going to go door handle into the braking zone. And this time Bass just about gives him enough room this time. He turned it across and didn't think the Butcher was there last time out. This time Bass has learnt his lesson, and Butcher's up to 16th. Now, does he go through cleanly this time? He's done it again!
Oh my goodness!
That's the 3rd time. Chris Butcher, will you ever learn, sunshine? He's down to 18th place now. He's lost another place to Daniel Beck. This is rather uncharacteristic from Butcher here. I haven't seen him make this many mistakes in a race.
I was just about to say, Ethan Bass has got to be a little tired of having the same guy go past him like this, but again, Chris Butcher falls right back behind him, and we're seeing this driver right here I want to talk about quickly, Daniel Beck for Optimum Sim Racing. Daniel, he's been in Division 2 for most of the championship at this point, finally gets his call up to Division 1. It's good to see him on the track. Optimum, this guy is a very good driver. I believe, I want to say he's from Sweden. Don't kill me if I'm wrong there, but Daniel Beck, he's a very good driver. It's a good signing for Optimum Sim Racing, Sim Sport, or Sim Racing, I'm sorry, and hopefully he can continue to develop with that team. Just continue our ride down the grid. We have Rod Taplin here in 19th position. I believe that's where he finished in Oran Park or thereabout. Sebastian Rosemont had a solid run, a very solid run at Oran Park. Is now down here in 20th. Not as good of a race here, but so far he's still continuing on strongly. Jeff Dobbin here down 21st position with Bruno Salsa Fierro, who really turned some heads with his performance at Oran Park. Got a top 10, 2 top 10 finishing positions there. Is now down to 22nd position. Certainly not what we were expecting from Bruno, because he was one of the fastest drivers at Oran. But so far he's still out there, still trying to get points, which is good for walk racing. Unfortunately, though, he's lost his teammate for the remainder of the championship, so he continues on for walk. We have here Darren Adams for core racing. He might have some damage on that car. I don't know. He's just letting the leaders go through. As there's Adrian Holm, who continues to lead this race from Toby Davis, as he's just letting those guys go through. Very gentlemanly stuff there for Mr. Darren Adams. You're seeing Toby Davis flash his lights there. Just to finish off our grid, we have Evan Navarre rounding out. Lars Brugman, unfortunately, and Carlos Ortiz both suffered DNF. So let's actually get back to the front of this race, where Adrian Holm continues to lead by only 1.7 seconds here. So Scott, you're right, the gap continues to come down. The thing is, though, we've only got a few laps to play with before we get into the pit window, and as far as I'm concerned, Adrian Holm has done his job. He's maintained a solid gap, and if he can just get some more fresh rubber on that car again, it's